Well, good morning. Today what we're going to do is we're going to look at how to do a fecal float test. What a fecal float test is it's a way to determine what sort of internal parasites your birds may have. The reason it's important to do this is because you don't want to just indiscriminately deworm your birds or do it like on a regular basis, say every 3 months or something like that. If you do that, then what's likely to happen is those parasites will develop resistance. So if you're using the same medication over and over again, then over time what will happen is those parasites will be resistant and it just won't kill them any longer. By doing a fecal float test, what you're doing is you're looking at the feces to determine what sort of parasites there are and how many there are. And you do this by looking at the egg. So basically you get a rough estimate. There's, just a few, moderate amount, or a lot. And then that will tell you what you should be treating them with, because you'll know what kind of parasite it is. And if you even should treat them, because if there's not much of a parasite load, then it's not necessary to treat the birds.
I wanted to find out if this bird has worms. I separated her last night. Now I'll collect her feces. You want to use fresh feces and not old dry feces. Once collected, place it in a test tube or empty pill bottle. Use a popsicle stick to push it into the test tube. You will then need to add fecal float solution.
Okay, in order to do a fecal float test, you have to have this fecal float solution. You can buy this online if you want to, or you can make your own. And what I'll do is I'll go over how to make your own. Okay, it's very simple. When you're making the solution, all you're doing is making a saturated solution. A saturated solution is one that can't dissolve any more solute. So what I have here is a pan with water, and then I just have salt. So what you want to do is make this water dissolve all the salt that it can. So over time you just add a little bit more. So here I've got the water boiling, I'll add a little salt to it, and then stir it up so it dissolves, okay? And the water doesn't even have to boil, it can be more of a simmer. And you want to keep doing that again until it can't take any more. So in other words, until it's dissolved all that it can. And what will happen is that will make this water more dense than the eggs that are in the feces that you collected. And if the eggs are less dense than the water, then they will float to the top. And what we'll have, and I'll show you how to do this, is just a cover slip that will collect the eggs. So the eggs will stick to the cover slip since they're going to float up from this dense solution. Okay?
We now have a saturated solution. It cannot dissolve any more salt. In this book, we go step by step on how to do a fecal float test. We even have pictures showing what the parasite eggs look like. You can get your copy at pluckerbooks.com. I'll fill the test tube half full with the saturated solution. I next mix up the feces. I then fill the test tube with the saturated solution until a meniscus forms, which is a bubble at the top. I then place a cover slip on the test tube and set the timer for 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, lift the cover slip off by the corners. Place it wet side down onto a slide.
Okay, so now I've got my slide on the microscope. What I want to do is look to find out what sort of eggs are there from these potential internal parasites, roundworms, coccidiosis, gapeworms, those sorts of things. And in our book, we have pictures showing what the eggs look like. And what you'll want to do is methodically go over your slide. So you'll go to left to right and up and down, and you'll want to have paper and pen and record what you see. So for each species of egg that you see, you'll write it down and then just make a tick mark for each one of those that you see. And what you're doing is you're really looking at relative abundance. And it's good to do this over time, several times throughout the year. And that way you can get an idea of what's going on. So in other words, if there's just a few parasite eggs, you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to treat. It's normal for chickens, for poultry to have parasites. But when the numbers start to get high, then it's time to treat for them. So if you're getting a lot of roundworm eggs, for example, then you treat for roundworms. So what we'll do is I'll just show you how to do this. This particular one has a little dial so I can move the slide easily. And if you don't have that, you can move it by hand. It's no big deal. Okay, so right now I'm seeing an egg. So looking at this, I can tell that it's, look closer. Actually, it's a roundworm egg. Okay, so I'd write down roundworm and just make a tick mark. And then I'd keep looking. And if I wasn't sure what it is, actually what I would do next is I'd move to the next higher power. So then I could look at it more clearly, just fine tune this. If I wasn't sure, and that'll help me to better identify what it is. Then put back to the lower power and keep scanning. So right now I've got that one roundworm egg that I found. So that's all you do. And I will search this slide to see and what's it look like. And if there's only a few eggs, I'm not going to treat. It's when your numbers start to get high that you need to treat them.
Get your copy today at Clucker Books.